One of the deciding factors for anybody when picking the perfect reptile for them is how much can they interact with them? How social is this reptile? So today, let's go over the top 5 most interactive, most social pet reptiles that you could possibly get. My name's Adam, this is Diamond, you're watching Wickens Wicked Reptiles, stick around. Number 5, bearded dragons, of course. And here's why they're so low on the list. Some bearded dragons, like Diamond, are actually kind of lazy. Now, don't get me wrong, when I come in the room, Diamond will come to the glass, hey man, what's up? You got food? You just want to hang out? Can I stay on your shoulder for a whole video and fall asleep? Well, it's not going to be the whole video, but for a couple, you can sit here and just chill out, Diamond. You're cool. And Diamond seems to be a fan favorite, so let's just start it off. They are amazing. They're fantastic. I love hanging out with bearded dragons because they're big enough that they're impressive. If you hand them to someone, it's like, holy cow, this is not a leopard gecko. This is a pretty big animal, for most people anyway, who aren't accustomed to reptiles. But they're not intimidating. This isn't something like a monitor species where they get so big and kind of dangerous where you got to be a little bit nervous when you handle them or you hand it off to someone else to handle. I'm not nervous when I put this bearded dragon in anybody's hands. I can give it to a child and I know that child's going to be okay. Supervision, obviously. Top Reptiles for Children video right here if you want to watch that. But of course, with bearded dragons, they aren't afraid of you a lot of the time. And a lot of these reptiles, if you're looking for criteria, what I mean, fun to handle, and they seem to tolerate or sometimes even enjoy handling really well. And Diamond is a perfect example. I pick him up, no stress, no huffing, no puffing, no trying to bite me unless it's my ear. I don't know why he does that all the time. I think he thinks it's food, but there's no aggression whatsoever, and he doesn't seem to be worried at all. Like, I can just kind of sit here and play with his tail. I literally will edit these videos. 4 hours I'll sit at a desk and he'll just chill out on my shoulder the entire time asleep. And just absolutely amazing. And although bearded dragons can poop on you, they're not as likely as other species to take a dump on you. So, and I like that. I like that a lot. When dragons don't poop on you, those are my favorite dragons. And just real quick, why are they awesome? Because an interactive pet is great, but can you handle it? Iguanas are interactive, but I wouldn't recommend them for most people. Bearded dragons, intermediate. You know, figure out the UVB situation, make sure you always have that at a peak level, give them the right diet, the right temperatures. It's really not that difficult. Just kind of a bigger cage size at 120 gallons, 75 if, bare minimum. 120 gallons is what I recommend. So if you want one, by the way, link in the description below. Use code WWR for free door handles. Let's move on. Number 4, boas. Now, there's a few different types of boas, well, lots actually, but I think they mostly fit into this. And I'm going to exclude sand boas because I think with everything else, it's just more fun and more interactive and, I don't know, more inquisitive, which I think is a really big point of all of these animals, the inquisitiveness of them. And behind me here, we've got, do you like the red lights? It's kind of cool, right? I changed them back to white. Don't worry, they don't live in like the red light district all the time. This is Franny. Franny is a big girl. She's absolutely amazing. Most boas are absolutely a dream to work with. They're big, they'll give you a hug, but they're not so big that they're dangerous. And that's the thing, that's why I didn't put berms or retics on this list, is because these guys, they're interactive, but you don't have to be worried that they're gonna kill you, for the most part, obviously. They eat really great, so as long as you can differentiate, or they can differentiate handling time and feeding time, you're mostly in the clear. These guys are great, and they get to a substantial size. I'm talking about BCs and BIs mostly. And of course, ground boas, Madagascar ground boas, such as my Dumerl's boa, I think they're absolutely the most fun to work with as well, and beautiful. And of course, if you want something to interact with that is friendly and has a bunch of morphs, so you can choose if you want an albino one, or you want a motley one, or whatever, they have those options, and they're not ridiculously expensive. And because BIs and BCs are semi-arboreal, they're going to do the same sort of thing. Oh, we haven't talked about that one yet. There are certain snakes that just kind of try to get to a higher place, and it makes it more fun because they're always moving in the same direction, or they're seen curious and they're moving, and it's just more fun to, rather than try to like get it from around your leg, it's just trying to go up all the time. And I think that's super fun. And I mean, who doesn't want to have a boa constrictor on their head? And just why they're awesome. they eat really well, and they get to a really good size, but not too dangerous. They're almost like the perfect reptile for someone who could have an intermediate level of caregiving to the reptile. Boas are freaking awesome. Number 3 most fun interactive reptile, Antaresia. So whether that's children's pythons or spotted pythons, it doesn't really matter. They do this. They're semi-arboreal. They try to get to the top of whatever it is that is above them. They are an arboreal snake. They're going to try to be in the trees or at least get a little bit of height. And that's interesting because they're always moving. They're trying to get to a different place, whereas a ball python might just kind of sit there, you know? Sit there and watch a movie on your lap, never move. And of course, they have individual personalities like every other species. And of course, this is a smaller one. Antaresia just seem really inquisitive and almost like explorative. I don't know if that's a real word or not. And because these guys aren't a really big size, they're actually pretty small when it comes to pythons. In fact, pygmy pythons, a version of an Antaresia, are the smallest pythons in the world. They're not super intimidating. So not only are they fun to handle, but there's that fear factor that you might get with a berm or a retic, which could be on the list but aren't. With those guys, some people might be nervous that if they get a bite, it's gonna suck, because it would. Getting a bite from something that is 12 feet long sucks. Getting a bite from something that's 4 feet long doesn't suck as bad. And also, they're pretty placid snakes, which is always a risky thing to say when you're holding them. But I don't know, this is one of my favorite snakes that I've ever had, one of my favorite species to work with, and no matter what you get, children, spotted, Stinsons, or if you get a pygmy python, the smallest of the lot, they're all really, really cool. What do you want? And if you want to know more about Antaresia, I did a whole video all about them. Watch it right here. One of my favorite videos I've ever made. We'll move on. And number 2, the potato with legs. This is Irwin, the blue-tongued skink. You guys love this guy, and I do too. Blue-tongued skinks are maybe one of the most recognizable species. They're these big sausage-looking things, basically a potato with legs, like I said, and they're pretty handleable. Now, Irwin isn't the most handleable, but like, I don't look like I'm having an issue with him, obviously, right? And I've got another one who, I mean, he's a little bit younger and wasn't socialized, and he's a little bit more of a challenge. But normally when you see people talk about blue-tongued skinks, it's simple. They pick them up and they handle them, and it's fun. And these guys are actually more fun than, not kind of like a diamond, they're more of like, I don't know, you want to be on the ground with them. Kind of like you'd play with a dog, because they'll I don't know, just kind of squirm around, and the way that their locomotion is very strange, and they'll kind of come to you, right? If you go on the other side of the room, even if you don't have food, but especially if you do, and you have food and you show it to them, they'll kind of like shimmy over to you. It's really cool. I absolutely love these guys. And because they're from Australia and they're from Indonesia, you have a few different options of what type to get. So if you want something with a drier climate, there you get a northern or an eastern from Australia. If you want something with more of a humid type care requirement, get yourself an Indonesian, like my buddy Irwin here. Beautiful animals, super fun to interact with. They're not difficult to keep by any means. Very diverse diet. Unlike very many reptiles, most reptiles don't have a diet requirement and diversity like a blue-tongued skink. The tail is, look at this freaking thing. Absolutely amazing. I can't say enough good things about blue-tongued skinks. They're one of my favorite. You got substrate all over your eye. They burrow into their substrate sometimes too. He's been doing that quite a bit lately. I gotta mist him down. Do you like the red lights? What do you think about the red lights? Pretty cool, right? I mean, just look at this thing. It is absolutely beautiful. And the way that they interact with you is not, it's not, I don't know, like a bearded dragon, because they don't climb on you and stuff like that. I mean, they would, but they're more fun to just get down on the ground, play with. And they'll even play with like balls. Like if you have a little dog toy or a cat toy, they'll actually play with that. Like it's, I don't know, not prey, but it's weird. They're almost like little dogs, but not little dogs. This is like a terrible way to describe anything. And they are very food motivated, but not like a snake. When a snake is food motivated, especially if it's a big snake, it can be kind of scary. They've got like a big reach, right? They've got a big extension that they could reach you from. And when they get a hold of you, they bite you and constrict you, and it's just no fun. These guys, if they've got a food response, they're not fast. They don't have a big range. They're just gonna go to their bowl and eat it. When they smell food, they're just looking for food. So it's a little bit less intimidating than most snakes in terms of the food response thing. I don't know. I think they're amazing. Blue-tongued skinks. There's a care guide in the corner. You can watch that. And number 1 most interactive reptile, Tagus. I love Tagus. This is the only reptile on this list I don't have in my personal collection. You'll see one soon. I will definitely be getting a Tagu. I love these guys. Check out Professor Herp's channel if you haven't already. He does lots of really cool Tagu stuff. That's the footage I'm using here. They're amazing. They're like scale dogs. A lot of people will have them not quite free roaming, but they can walk around their house, whatever, basically. They do really well outside. They're just kind of, you can put them on a leash. What other reptiles, well, there's a few, but what other big reptiles of this size that are this impressive do you handle, but you don't worry about them like taking a chunk out of you most of the time if they're well socialized, they've got a cool diet, they're friendly, and also, they're cute. I mean, these guys they're pretty cute. I mean, look at this thing. It is absolutely adorable in my opinion. And because they're interactive with you, they don't mind a lot of the time being handled and walking around, and you can just kind of sit there and it'll crawl over your lap and walk around, and you can hand feed it like whatever you're gonna feed it. They've got a diverse diet, so many different items, and they just seem calm and like almost like they enjoy handling. I know most reptiles don't enjoy handling, but they almost seem like they like to. And every Tagu I've ever met has been a dream to work with. Also, if you get something like, say, the cage's enclosure they recommend is 8x4x4. So a pretty big enclosure that you could actually get inside of and interact with your Tagu inside, which is kind of cool because, I don't know, who can say that they can get into their lizard's enclosure? Not a lot of people, especially an inside enclosure. So to me, I don't know, I just think that's freaking awesome. You'll see a Tagu on this channel. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. It costs you nothing, but it helps me tremendously. And like, the more people subscribe, the more people can see Diamond. And people deserve to see Diamond. I can't say enough good things. These are one of the dream reptiles, which I did a whole video about right here, that I think is reasonable to actually get, and most people, I think, if you really have the gumption to do it, could care for a Tagu, and I think it's probably the biggest lizard you could care for that isn't risky, I guess, especially if you're someone who's an intermediate, not the expert. I'm just rambling at this point. As always, a special thank you to Cages. Link in the description. If you use code WWR, you get free door handles no matter what size that you buy. These are absolutely amazing enclosures. The best that you can buy on the internet. And a very big thank you to someone who's kind of new to the channel, Grub Terra. I've been feeding these black soldier fly larvae to Diamond and some of the leopard geckos as well. They gobble them up like there's no tomorrow. Affordable. The shipping is awesome if you live in the US. I can't recommend these guys enough. Code WWR, and the link is in the description. If you use the code, 10% off of your entire order. And it can't be said enough, Patreon, thank you guys so much, dearly. You guys are freaking awesome. You get to see stuff early. You get discounts on the merch. I really enjoy having a Patreon because I get to show you stuff I don't show the channel or show Instagram. It's kind of like you get to see everything first and you get to see a little bit extra that most people don't get to see. Link in the description again. For as little as $1 a month, you can support this channel on Patreon as well. And I'm not going to ramble this time after the Patreon thing. That's it. We're done. Hit subscribe. See you on Thursday.